welcome to TCT time! Yay! I'm your host Shizuka, and today we've got Shiori, Chris, and a new member, Ian.
Hello.
He's our CTO at Tokyo Creative.
That's right.
Yes, fancy title.
Thank you.
So today, why we have everyone here together, you may ask, is because we're going to be talking about customs in Japan, or as Ian so expertly illustrated, Japanese customs.
Thank you.
So creative.
Or Japanese customs.
Japanese customs. But anyway, especially we're going to talk about business customs, I thought. Because actually, I don't have very much like business experience in Japan, but you have prior business experience in Japan, and so do you. So
Correct.
I think you guys know a lot more about actually Japanese business customs than I do. And Shiori, you also worked at
the Japanese company before.
Good. So you guys are the experts here. I'm gonna leave it up to you. But do you guys know of any major Japanese business customs that you're really surprised about when you first started working?
Maybe Ian,
If
you
it's
are
okay,
the
yeah. So
Yeah.
I've been at Tokyo Creative for a year this month, actually.
It's only been a year?
It's only been a year.
Wow.
It feels much longer. But prior to that, I worked for 6.5 years at an all-Japanese company.
Ooh.
So it was fine. It was their first time hiring someone non-Japanese, and it was, my first time. Obviously, I'd just arrived in Japan, so I didn't really know too much. So in that kind of environment, you start to notice the differences very suddenly. It's kind of being dropped in the deep end a little bit.
I'll bet.
A couple of the main things I noticed. I think Japanese, firstly, the work, your general day-to-day work, there's a much bigger focus on the team, the group, rather than an individual.
Right.
And but more specifically, a couple of examples of things where I was showed how out of my depth I was. One example I can think of where I offended my boss by mistake. He was fine with it, but my coworker kind of said if that was anyone else, you would know about it.
Oh no.
You working in Japan, inevitably you drink a lot. I know in the UK, if your boss kind of says, okay, this Friday everyone's going drinking, probably most people wouldn't show up. They feel it's like after work hours, it's not a necessity. Whereas in Japan, you cancel whatever plans you may have had. During the week, if your boss wants to go drink, you do it. But normally when you drink, a couple of things. Drinking as a company, you go to an izakaya, like a pub kind of thing, and you're all sat there. Everyone gets their drinks. You don't go anywhere near that until someone said cheers. And if you were to drink it prior to that, you're going to get some very angry looks and stuff. But the one thing that I didn't know that some people might not know is, if you're about to do a cheers, let's say Chris, our CEO, is our boss. So if we were all to do a cheers, or if I was to put my glass higher than his, that's really offensive. And I kind of got away with it a bit because it was clear I wasn't trying to do that. But I remember my co-workers looked at me in horror when my boss. It's meant to be something more along the lines of kind of like a very obvious kind of.
You're pretty good at that.
Yeah, make it lower than.
And then I'll wait for you to drink a little bit, and then
Oh.
now green light. Okay, here you go.
Ooh, you have to wait for them to drink first.
Well, I was just terrified after I was told that I just offended my boss, so I was trying to walk on eggshells a little bit initially. But yeah, that was a quick, a steep learning curve. To pick up little things like that.
That's a really good one. I learned that in Japan too, and I was really surprised about it. In my case, I didn't work in a company, but I was in a Japanese talent agency, and it's very traditional kind of work style customs there as well. So I learned the cheers thing when I was there too, and kind of a comedic way to do that is to make it as low as possible. So you keep lowering it. Sometimes the other person will try to lower it too, and you're both going lower and lower. You're like, no, you're better than me. No, you're better than me. It's just it's like a competition to see who's lower.
As ridiculous as that sounds, you see that in izakayas. People literally going to, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, but you see people going
It's
But yeah, when you did the kampai, as whole group, how did you, because it's going to be if boss is kampai, It's a bit kind of awkward.
Everyone's trying to figure out where to position. Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not above your boss, I think
That's
you're
okay.
good.
I mean, it's the same thing with bowing, right? If I'm not
Kind
wrong.
of, yes.
I mean, it's the same idea behind, right? You want to bow. You want to bow lower
deeper,
to
lower.
show more respect. You want to be lower class to show higher status
You cannot.
or difference of status, right?
Maybe you can talk about the kamiza shimoza, no? The
What's
meeting.
kamizashi
Meeting.
moza?
I don't know what that is.
Meeting.
What is that Japanese word?
When you have a meeting, you have the specific.
Oh, the seating order?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, if you enter a room, basically the door is, let's say the door is closer to me, the boss will always sit farthest to the other wall.
Oh, okay.
And then you would stack up like, chief, manager, associate, kind of that way, like in matter of importance.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I think that has to do with this kind of the back from like the olden days, right? Where basically if you're farther away from the door, you're more secure, right? Because if bad guys come through, then they'll attack the associates first. Right? I think it's that kind of mindset,
Yeah,
right?
I think so too.
That
But
makes sense.
it works for the izakaya situation too, because the most closest to the door, maybe beers coming to the place, right? So you need
to pass it
you
down
need to take
people.
care of everyone to
I
be
see.
okay. So
Interesting.
there's so many. It's not hierarchy, but what do you see this culture?
It's kind of a
It is
hierarchy.
hierarchy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
And whenever there's like some kind of preference towards a higher up than to a lower person of status, if that's always hierarchical.
You don't.
Way
You
of
guys
thinking.
don't have those.
No.
Really?
I've never worked in a company in the UK like that. It was,
No, but that doesn't
Yeah, I don't
happen.
think it
Yeah,
happens.
you have. If that happened, imagine if that happened in Western culture. Yo, I'm sitting over there because I am the CEO. You're sitting over there with the losers sitting because you're the so. I mean, that'll be harassment, wouldn't it? Technically, power harassment, no? As a form.
Might be,
Right?
yeah. But
I
speaking
can see someone getting sued for that in America.
Really? That bad?
I guess
Well, they sue for anything in America.
I guess the good thing about that is, because one thing I learned as well, people may know about when you go into a meeting, if you're doing any kind of business in Japan, you've got a meeting, bring business cards.
Yes.
It's really bad if you don't. But one thing about having that order of people seating, when you have two companies coming together for a meeting, one thing that I've noticed people do, which is kind of a good tip as well, to remember people's names. In Japan, people always obviously they refer to people by their name. You hear someone's son, it's not he or she, it's normally their name. So when you go into a meeting and you exchange business cards, a really polite thing to do, and what a lot of people do, is they order the business cards in front of them in the order that the people opposite them are sitting.
Ooh.
In a lot of
Smart.
meetings I went to, I noticed all my co-workers would do that. So when they were talking to this person, they would just have to look down, no, that card refers to that seat, so they know his name. So that's, if you get a business card, if you put it straight in your pocket without really, kind of giving it the attention that it should have, that's another thing that will really offend people. So
It's
Oh,
also
no.
it's also kind of weird. Like if you're the first person to clean up the business cards to
Right,
leave,
right.
You're just like because like essentially, right? You give. Oh, let's backtrack one step, because also giving your business card is another custom, right? So
Correct,
you need to
yeah.
make sure you're giving that to them with the name facing the person.
yeah.
So if my name's Chris Okano would be facing this person. So if I flip the card like this, you can read it right away. And then you always give it two hands, obviously. Even though the first time I gave a business card in Japan, I just swung it like this. I was like,
Throwing stars.
because I held it like at the corner, and I was like, oh hey, I'm Chris. Oh, I got smacked that day. The guy, and my Japanese boss was he looked at me and said, Chris, come here, and he brought me to the other room. And then he said, Chris, I'm going to teach you how to give business cards, because what the hell was that?
Oh my god.
And I was like, what?
I remember prior to coming to Japan, I read about, because obviously business card, most people, you know something about, there's a certain way to do business cards. I always thought, I know now it's not the case, but I always thought you gave yours with one hand and you received theirs with two hands to show that it holds greater weight. It's like But in reality, it's always two hands to give and two hands to receive.
Well, you
right?
can't obviously you
I think
can't
so.
receive with two hands. Yeah, you're right. So like you give with two hands, and then as soon as present with two hands, and then as soon as you're ready to exchange, then you obviously let go with your left hand.
Okay.
So you pass with your right hand, receive with your left hand,
And
and
then
then
you
you
hold it.
hold
I
with two
see.
hands,
Okay.
and then you bring it back to yourself, and then you make sure you look at it, read it. And you have to do some kind of, oh, sugoi, you're the bucho, you're the manager, wow, right? Or X and X company, wow, you know? And you always have to read it out.
Yeah.
You don't just say, oh, thank you, and then put it in your pocket or
No,
put it on the
no,
table.
no, sorry, no.
You go, oh, Watanabe-san, sugoi desu ne. Bucho nanda.
And when you
It's so funny. It's part of the custom.
when you receive the business card, you cannot touch the letters. And
Oh.
then try to avoid to putting your finger above over
The ink?
Over
or
the ink. Yeah.
I didn't know that
I
part.
didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I'm learning
It's
a
a
lot
few more
actually.
people
Try
Offended.
to try to
Without
hold the ink
realizing.
as much as you can.
Well, I guess it makes sense. You don't want to cover their name.
Right.
Well, that's
right?
true.
Just hold
Yeah,
the
that's true.
paper, the white part of the card.
Try it.
Interesting.
But then going back to like them placing the business cards, right?
Yeah.
The weirdest thing is that when you have like a business setting, right, and you're at a table, let's say, and you have three people on one from your company, three people from the other company. The weirdest, most awkward point is okay, who goes first? But it's always the highest status
Yeah.
goes first, right?
That's true.
But it's
That's
sometimes
true.
awkward because like sometimes I forget. Some like oh just go. You're in front of me, so just go. Like
Yeah.
attitude.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
and then our business guy, T-Man, right? He'd be like, oh, Chris Dozo, like like he'd be
Nudging
like ushering
you
me,
aside.
he'd be ushering me, and I'd be like, oh, sorry, and then I'll go.
That's so funny.
But then the weirdest thing is once you hand the business cards, then you have to keep track of all of them and make sure they're in correct order. Because you imagine carrying now multiple business cards in your hands, right?
Yes.
While passing your business card to other
Correct.
people.
It's,
And then you have to stack them properly, and then remember which one's which,
Yeah.
and then put them on the table.
and this is
appropriately.
before the meeting's even started.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is
So you're getting stressed out before the meeting
mental
starts.
ballet
Yeah.
that's
So
going on.
terrible.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then sometimes I've had business cards where there's no romaji or hiragana,
It's
Oh.
just
only kanji.
Yeah.
And then I have to remember what he said.
brutal.
And he said sometimes he might say like hiroki, but I might think oh shit hiriki hiraki.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
He's like,
So then,
Just write it on his card. Remind you. I'm sure that's fine. I'm sure.
you would get a pass for that because you're not fully.
no, but
counted.
sometimes when I'm in that situation and I'm like, gosh, I'm tired. I don't want to go through it. I literally just say in English. Oh, hi. I really still English. I go, hi. Nice to meet you. I'm Chris. 'Cause, I mean, all Japanese people know greeting. They learned that in kindergarten, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all
Yeah.
of them know basic greeting. And then I, instead of me being flustered, I fluster them because all of a sudden, oh, English. Then they go, oh, hi, nice to meet you.
You're reverse
Yeah,
fluster.
yeah,
Okay, I like it.
So if you're in that position and you don't want to, and you're kind of like, shit, my Japanese, I'm not comfortable, then just speak basic Japanese because then you're in the position of like not being nervous. Yeah.
That's interesting.
One thing I said about drinking earlier on, about how a big part of Japanese in the workplace, a lot of things get done during the kind of off time. The izakaya, if you don't show up to them, you will miss out on things to do with work. But that sounds like a lot of overtime, a lot of pressure and stuff like that. But I'd say on the plus side, if you work for an all Japanese company, they absolutely take care of you. As in, you're not. If you do go to these places, you won't spend a penny. My old company, we had what they call Shainyoko, like the yearly trip. I went to Hawaii twice. We went to an island in the Philippines. Went to Wyoming, Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We go to all these amazing places, and you don't spend a penny.
That's amazing.
Literally, don't spend a penny for anything. They won't let you. But at the same time, that's kind of a reward for giving up your free time. I would know when my boss said, even like at the end of the day, it might be 7 p.m. We're just about finishing, and he would just casually say to the group, "I kind of feel like a drink. Whatever plans you had, I've had to cancel basketball games. I've had to cancel things because
Really?
yeah, there is that pressure." One time, actually, he turned around to all of us and said, "Okay, every Monday from 8 p.m. now, we're doing karate."
Whoa!
But
just out of the blue.
yeah, so that kind of things wouldn't happen in the West, I guess. But at the same time, it was a really kind of prestigious like karate school. He paid for everything, we didn't pay, and he kind of gave it to us as like a character building thing. And I guess the biggest custom difference is it didn't really occur to him that during the week we may have things on a Monday. You can really get out of it. So I'd say there's pros and cons. You are expected during the week to kind of be very flexible, very flexible with your time, but at the same time, it's never at your expense for a Japanese company, I would say.
Right.
Usually.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's that trade-off. It's like your time versus, well, you do get taken care of, which is the good thing.
I think it's very similar to like military, right?
Is
If you compare it. Well, I mean, like the lower people always listen. It's hierarchical, right? You always listen to your generals, your corporals, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, you're all like in this one big family. You're all brothers in arms, kind of thing, right? You'll. It's about bonding. It's about that.
Well, I'd say the workplace, in my experience working with Japanese companies, absolutely team oriented. It's absolutely, we do this. This is us. This is our group. It's not individuals fighting for promotion. It's very much team oriented. I'd say that's the
military, right?
Yeah.
You'll take a bullet for your brother kind of attitude. Maybe to that
Yeah,
extent, but I
yeah.
mean, it's all about that kind of sacrifice, right? That's what it is. It's sacrifice.
Absolutely.
It's that military mindset.
Absolutely.
Right.
Which is Japan.
Right. And in the past, like, you were expected to dedicate your whole life to this one company too.
Well, that's it. It's very rare you change jobs in Japan.
Exactly. Even now, it's changing more and more these days. But I still feel like there's still a very traditional mindset where once you start working at a company, you're meant to be there until you retire.
Yeah, well, there's a famous saying, I don't know if you heard it, it was like you're a Japanese company, you're expected, maybe you know it, I don't know the actual term, but it translates to you're married twice, right? Once to your significant other and once to your company. You heard that before? I forgot, it's like a Hyogen.
I haven't heard that before, but it seems very true.
Someone told me that once, so I don't know if that's true. If that is
we'll
true.
find the translation.
That's what you felt like at your company, no? You felt like you felt like loyal and dedicated to your employee or coworkers, which is why you felt weird quitting, right?
It's those team bonding, company, making the good team kind of feeling. It's making you feel like it's hard to leave this company because everyone is taking care of me so nicely. So I feel like if I quit, I feel like I'm betraying them. So I feel so bad. So that's why, if the people who take care of you and be good people, maybe it's hard to move on next step because you feel so connected to the company. But at the same time, I was thinking, every time Chris and friends ask me to go somewhere together, I always couldn't because if both or company needed me for weekend, I cannot say no, even though I have other thing I want to do. So I always do my best. But at the same time, I feel like, maybe this job is not for me for good. So I want to move to next step, but it's very hard to say like I'll quit because they are taking care of me.
You feel like you're letting people down.
Right.
It's very personal there.
Right.
So it's a bit those Japanese customs like drinking together, doing something fun together are good, but at the same time it's a bit I feel like sometimes hostage situation.
Oh yeah, you feel very obligated toward your coworkers and your boss.
Because you can't help it. If they said something, let's do it, I cannot say nah.
Yeah. You can't be like, nah.
So it's very
Right,
hard.
exactly. It's so true.
Yeah, again, sorry to keep going about my old company, but my boss...
Your boss is gonna kill you if you
we're still really good friends, and I still rent an apartment from him. So but no, Aso-san, he was instrumental.
Saying him by name.
He was instrumental in me staying in Japan and everything. But he after he turned 50, he really got into like a health kick and everything. And it was funny, one morning we turned up and he told everyone, literally the entire company, it's a small company, like 10 people.
Oh, okay.
He said, in 4 months' time, we're entering a triathlon.
Oh my goodness. Really?
I've done 2 triathlons.
What?
Kicking and screaming against my will. I'm not in any shape to travel. But we had to do it. And again, it's not, that's the thing I think in the Japanese working culture, there might be situations. I mean, if you work in any business, you've sung karaoke as a group.
Yeah.
You've done, and even if you're super shy, or the worst thing you can do is not participate. Even you just give it your best. It doesn't matter if you're horrific. It doesn't matter if you like me nearly drowned in the swimming. Like the triathlons, you can do like the easier version or the hard version, and you can do it as long as you participate. So it's participation is expected, and I think that's a huge difference in the UK. Work is work and your social life, and there's a very big divide. Whereas in Japan, it kind of blends into the two.
It's probably related to this team building concept.
Absolutely. Well, this was all. He saw what better way to build a team than to get fit in the process and to do it. But again, talking about taking care, I mean, he bought us all triathlon bikes. He bought us the uniform. He was like, yeah.
Did you get to keep it?
I do. I still have it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! What?
I haven't used it since, but I still have it.
He bought everyone a team of 10 people. Bikes.
I don't know if my outcome was more than usual, but I get the feeling in Japan, your company, for that dedication you have to show to them, it is reciprocated in how they kind of treat you. Like in Japan, for example, in London, if you get a job in London, like when I used to work there, I commuted in to London, and on your first month in the company, I got a loan to pay for my travel for the year. It's a huge amount of money, but I have to pay that back over the years. Where in Japan, it's unheard of. You don't pay to get to work. Your company pays your
transportation.
Japanese company.
But some company don't, so it's not.
Oh really?
Compulsory.
It's not compulsory to.
Oh, nice word.
Already?
Yay!
Compulsory だけど but still, relatively everyone can get the
transportation
paid. Sometimes limitation, but
I see. I didn't know. Pretty much any company I've ever kind of had a chance to work with, they usually offer transportation. So I was surprised to hear that it's not actually mandatory.
Because Japanese people sometimes crazy. They take Shinkansen to go to work.
Right. The bullet train. Yeah.
There are so many people like that.
I wouldn't say so many, but it happens.
It happens.
Because I used to live in the Fujisawa. Fujisawa to here is like 2 hours. It's same as me. Maybe I'm going to Sendai by the Shinkansen.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh.
So the transportation is also it's like necessary. I want to give you, but not all the time.
Right, because you can't go too crazy with that. Like if you're taking the bullet train to work every day for 2 hours, that's a very high cost for the company. Interesting.
But is there any other custom did you notice when you work for other companies?
Well, just to go off of that, there's always always team meetings, and those team meetings are pretty pointless.
Meetings for everything all the time.
You always hear that in Japan.
True.
You have meetings to have a meeting to discuss nothing. Basically. but basically, it's like in Japanese companies, you always have that group of people who go smoking, always.
Right.
And a group of people who go smoking is always. They may stay late after work and seem like they're working so hard. But then the day they're just smoking half the day outside.
Right.
There's the word tobacco communication.
Yeah, no, that's why it's always good. I don't condone smoking, but it is good to smoke if you have a boss who's smoking, because that's the only time you have private time to talk to the guy. Because the guy's smoking so often that, and inside the office, you can't just say, hey, Tanaka-san, let's have a private meeting. You don't really do that, right?
Right.
So the only time you have private time is smoking. And so that's why it's always smart if you want to get ahead faster.
Right.
To go smoke a cig.
Oh my goodness.
Don't smoke.
Don't smoke, but if you want to work your way through the
But
ranks.
it is something that you could do if you are interested in growing your career faster.
Interesting. They also have a word that's similar called nominication.
Yeah.
So it's a similar concept.
Like nijikai, sanjikai, where you can do the same. But and those kind of drinking parties, you're not going to be alone.
Right.
Smoking, you can literally be alone with the guy.
Right.
It's kind of, and obviously the guy's not drunk, so he can actually, remember what he's talking about.
Very true.
But that happened quite often. I wish I was more. Gambaru hito then. Because I was like, oh, you're smoking? Bad. I'm not doing that.
But that's definitely like a useful tip for when you're working in the office. Like
FYI, that's Japan.
Just FYI, because smoking is still relatively common here.
Very common, yeah.
Yeah, we still have like there are still a lot of other working customs that we could talk about, but that could go on forever. So maybe we'll have to wrap it up around here today. And hopefully you guys found that all really interesting. And I learned a lot, especially about like business cards and stuff. There are some things I knew, but like there are just so many like small nuances and small things that like I feel like you can never finish learning everything. Even as a Japanese person, I think there's plenty of things you wouldn't know. So yeah. But thanks so much for joining us today and for sharing what you know. And let us know what you guys want to know in the next video, and we can talk about that next time. Thanks so much, guys, and thank you for joining Tisu Tea Time! Yay! Yay!